Good afternoon, or is it good morning still?
Morning. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
Well, we are coming to you live again from the Lewis River next to Molten Falls, kind of in between Battleground, Washington and Yakult, Washington. And if you can find that on a map, let us know.
You get extra points.
You get extra points. But this is like one of our favorite walks. And today, after a well-fought battle with inner tubes inside of tires of bicycles and pumps, and learning the difference between a Presta and a Strata valve, I have finally won after much
Victory.
cursing and really a bad attitude, and really probably really screwed up my day on Friday.
And mine.
And Brenda's. Yeah, so here we are
But
finally.
you're an overcomer.
Yeah, I was not going to let an inner tube nor a stinking valve ruin my weekend. So we finally achieved that, and we are sitting on bicycles with air in the tires.
Well, it's funny too because we love to walk this trail. It's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles, and you don't realize where the hills are and where the uphill and the downhill until you're on a bike, and it's like, oh, I didn't know this was a hill.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's been kind of fun. So today the topic that we want to talk about, actually, Brenda, she asks really good questions, and then after I don't have an answer but try to make one up, it comes to me that I'm supposed to ask her the same question. After almost 18 years of marriage, I'm still being trained to ask her the same question.
That's the rule. It's like, if Gil asks me a question and I answer it, then I've got to ask him a question and he's got to answer it.
Usually the same question.
Yeah, the same question.
But you usually ask these really, I don't know where you come up with these questions, but it's like, got nothing. So the question, and you have to answer because you haven't answered yet.
Oh, well, let me ask you, since you already kind of did it already, right? So my question is, since we've all been in quarantine and we're week, I don't know, 6 or whatever, it's like...
Is it 6? Is it
7, 8?
I don't know.
I
mean, this whole thing, whatever.
But the point is like, what have you learned, or what have you learned about yourself during this time? Like, what changes do you see that you're going to make after this quarantine is lifted and we're back to normal? And what did you say?
I don't plan on changing anything.
Well, and I mean, you're still working, but you're working at home,
Yeah.
so obviously that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, the rather than being in the office with people, I'm, doing telemed, which is via telephone or video.
And I'm working from home, and there's just not a whole lot to do. So I think if nothing else, this has given me an insight into what retirement is, and I'm ready for, even though I'm not near old enough to do that, because I've got, I don't know, at least 20 or 30 years before I'm old enough to retire. In my mind.
You'll really be old then. Not just old now, but really old.
I don't know, I just feel like there's been so many challenges with so much of this for so many people, and honestly, I hate to even admit, maybe because we don't have kids at home, it's been pretty quiet for us. But I'm just wondering if you guys have had that conversation. It's like, is there something that in your routine or in your being that you've realized that needs to change once we come through all this and have a restart, which I think we all should come to that point. I was saying the other day, it'd be cool if, like, once every 2 years, we could all take a month off and shut everything down so Mother Earth can regroup from smog and everything, and we can kind of reset. But I don't think the economy would.
Yeah, well, I think they actually do that in some places of Europe where people actually take a month off just to let their body.
But all at the same time?
But not all at the same time.
Yeah.
In our small group, we met 6 feet apart. We kept the outside in our front yard, and discussed how to cut down trees and stuff. But the question came back. One of the guys said, like the year of Jubilee in the Bible. We could have all of our debts forgiven, and if you were in slavery, you could get out of slavery, and remorganize. remortgage your home for nothing. I mean, let all your debts go.
But
So
getting-
that's idealistic.
Getting
but
back to that slavery thing, not to go uber spiritual, but what are we enslaved to
yeah,
that we didn't realize we were?
internally as well as externally, because that was
Yeah.
really the question around the circle was if there are things externally that you are having a hard time letting go of, then good chances is that there's something internally going on that's not an emotional issue. It is an act of your will that you're having a hard time letting go of, and it may actually have you in bondage.
And then where does the whole
Ooh.
thing with will and pride cross over?
Will and pride, I think they're cousins because they're both an act of my determination of I want my way.
Yeah.
But typically pride is more self-centered, where will potentially could be something of an act of love. I'm going to go beyond my emotion, and as an act of will, I have the power to do something good or evil. And if then I can act in balance, then I could actually do something self-sacrificing that may actually be against my better judgment, but for the betterment of someone else or a community, then it's the right thing to do. That would be loving. I didn't mean to get so
I
philosophical
know, it's
here.
like you just kind of, it's like I didn't
Yeah.
want to interrupt.
Well,
that was good.
I started reading a book just yesterday called Love, Power, and Justice, and it was written back in the 50s by a theologian. So my head is really, it's really dense.
Thick?
Yeah, my head is thick, and
With
so
information and deep thoughts, not thick like stupid.
just thick,
Yeah.
dense. The book is really deep, but my head is dense.
So
Back to your question.
Now I was going to ask you. We've talked a little bit about this. What have you seen, like a trend or something different in your clients that you're seeing with anxiety and all that? What's going on with people in general that you've seen?
Well, what I have learned is that some of my reading and then some of my clients are actually learning that their anxiety has been amplified. But one client was very insightful because I was sharing a concept with them, gave them a reading assignment, and they actually learned something and taught me something from the actual reading assignment. So I was like, I better read a little closer. But it was really quite good that they learned that anxiety is a response. It's not an emotion. And I thought, whoa, what does that mean to you? And she goes, well, it means that my responses are one of worry, fear, sometimes panic if it's overwhelming to me, and then sometimes it's concern. So anxiety as a response, if it gets confused that it's just a static emotion, you're in a bad spot, because your emotions are not to be trusted sometimes, because emotions come and they go. They're real, and not that anxiety is not something that's real, but if those two things get mixed up as a constant, then it gets triggered much quicker and can become really bonding.
So if you realize anxiety is not an emotion, how do you like, when you feel it coming on, how do you like nip it in the bud?
Well, we all have a choice, and that choice really boils down to how am I going to respond to this? Am I just going to let it take me like a hook in the fish of in the mouth of a fish, and let it reel me in, which is going to cause me even more terror because I feel like I'm trapped, or I'm hooked into something that I have no control over.
So when somebody feels that hook, I like that analogy because it's very visual. What can they say to themselves to like make that conscious decision not to go down that road of anxiety?
Well, just like a fish, I'm not a fisherman, my older brother is, but I've gone fishing enough to realize that sometimes you have something on the line. You felt the tug, the anxiety. And if the fish chooses to just relax, sometimes you don't know that the fish is still on the hook. So if you're the fish and you've been hooked by anxiety, probably the first thing to respond is not dive to the bottom and fight, but to actually relax, to breathe, to do something different, do the opposite of what you've normally done, which really is sometimes a matter of getting in touch with your body. A lot of times when I've been asking people, where is the anxiety at? And they'll go, well, what do you mean? I said, where's it at? Where do you feel it? Well, some people say it's in my head. Other people say it's in my chest. Other people say it's in my gut. And so it's like, whoa, do you realize that anxiety resides upon a thing that's called the vagal nerve, which runs up and down through the middle of your body and radiates. Your brain is not just in your head, it is through the nervous system of the entire body. And so if you respond in a reflex of anxiety and fear, it's going to impact your body someplace. And so where is it? I guess the other thought too, to flip it around is in this response of anxiety is a response, not an emotion. It's understanding that sometimes anxiety can come off as a concern. And a concern could actually be a worthwhile burden that, frankly, maybe God's put it there on your heart to pray for someone, to step in. Because not all anxiety is necessarily bad. Having a concern that's genuine leads us to a softer place. So now that I've taken a thousand word detour here.
That's really good. I love it because whenever we say, well, let's do a video, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. We'll just see what happens. And that's really, I think, a good word for people to hear now.
How am I going to respond rather than freak out?
So some takeaways. To me, I always think of physically, like, okay, get out and do a walk, deep breathing, something to get your mind off of going down into the pit of anxiety, right? But that's got to be a choice.
Yeah, it's a response.
Our first choice would be to follow where we normally go. So deep breathing, go out for a walk, changing your self-talk, would that?
Punching a pillow, don't kick the dog.
No, don't.
Yeah, don't kick the dog.
What other things would relieve anxiety?
There are other things there that are stretching. Get your body moving. Something in the body is trying to get out. And if your emotions kick in and you really start feeling some emotional things, pay attention because your emotions are trying to tell you something. Are you responding or are you letting it seep in and just freezing up, I think is the point. But back to your question is, what have you learned during this time?
Did I ever answer it?
No, because you asked me another question, then I hijacked it to, I don't know where we went.
I don't know. I think just reevaluating personally, myself physically, emotionally, where I'm at. I don't know if it's a reset, but I'm used to pushing so much of the time and to be able to just take a breather and and my prayer, it's like, Lord, what's the next dream or what's the next hill to conquer? Because I'm all about moving forward and conquering. But in the meantime, enjoying the rest. So, you're going to fall off your bike?
No, my hand is wearing out because I've been holding on to the back brake so the bike doesn't slide out. So
you don't want to go down the hill there?
No, because behind us about a 30-foot drop. And I'm just trying to get that.
Okay,
So
well, we'll
anyhow.
shoot some more pictures here, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And nobody's out here. It's just nice to get some
there's
fresh
people
air,
all around. So anyhow, you have a choice. You can respond or you can freak out. I say respond in love, respond in a way that is, what's the best that I can do here? And encourage myself and those around me. So,
and show grace to each other and those around you in this time.
I think the other thing that I've learned from so many people over these last few weeks is don't let the little stuff pile up, because the little stuff really is big stuff. And like a lot of times when we say when we're doing a seminars, it's the little stuff that can make a marriage or relationship, and
it's the little stuff that can destroy it.
So more and more I'm seeing that people who have left issues dormant and not dealt with them, they are coming out right now because there's this extra stress, there's these extra demands and uncertainties, and it is coming out with a vengeance. And so if anything I have learned is, back to short accounts. If there's any way to keep a short account, do it, which means don't let something grow. Keep it small. Something practical you could say with regards to that?
Pick up your socks? I don't know. I
Yeah.
need to pick up my socks.
Yeah, that's
All
true.
right, we've rambled enough.
Yeah.
Hopefully this was encouraging, and yeah, please subscribe. We have season 2 of podcasts coming, so our goal is just to help all marriages, and we would love it if you would subscribe. We don't know how to track who's subscribing and who's not. I'm trying to figure out comments, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But let us know that our words are helping or encouraging, because
Or they're just totally
we got
like
nothing.
that, or they're totally annoying. It's like, I wish these people would shut up. But then again, you're actually sitting here watching
Yeah,
it, so
yeah.
maybe it's your problem.
I know a good counselor. Okay, we gotta go.
We'll end with that.
See you later.
Back to the old one-liner of you ain't got the marriage.
You ain't got nothing. Take care.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Bye.
Bye-bye.